Welcome to the Backend course. Hi, I'm Mohit Chabda, ex-Salesforce, ex-Walmart, and in today's video, we will discuss about Java 8 Plus features which are heavily used in backend. Before we begin, just a quick note. This playlist is about the Backend Development Course. So in this video, I won't cover all the Java 8 Plus related features. I'll just focus on few of the Java 8 Plus features which are heavily used in backend so that you are aware of those and can use those in your day-to-day work. Alright, so in this video we are going to talk about 3 Java 8 related features. First is optional, second is functional interface, and third is method references. Now let's talk about each of these in detail. Begin with optional. Here I want to show you what is the problem statement and how we are resolving it using the optional. Alright, so this is the code in Java before optional. You can see there is a method which returns user DTO or model. The method name is find user by ID. So based on the ID, it will try to find out the user. In the argument, we have an ID which is of type long. So what we are doing is from the repository, we are trying to find the user based on the ID. Don't worry about the repository and other patterns for now. We will discuss about those later in this playlist, but for now you can imagine it like this is the data layer from where you are getting the data. It can be from the database or from the cache. So here you can imagine like this thing is trying to find out the user based on the ID from the database. After that, we are calling this method find user by ID here, and we are passing the ID inside it. So from this we will get our user. Now after that we are trying to print the name of the user. Okay, so this is a very basic code that we have written in Java. Now let's talk about the problem here. You can see in this code statement we may return null. In case from database we don't find anything related to that ID, we will return null. So this function may return null, and when this would happen, the value of user will also be null, right? Because from the method we are getting null for that particular ID. But the problem comes when we try to fetch a field related to that object. We imagine that there will be something inside the user, but in case user is null, and when we do null.getName, it will give you null pointer exception. Right? If you have any experience in development, it can be front end or back end or anything else, you might have already encountered null pointer exception. So whenever you try to call the fields or the methods of a particular object, let's say we do object dot get value. So basically we have the object reference here and we are calling its method, right? Everything is fine, but in case the object is null, so it will become null.getValue and it will give you a null pointer exception, or in short we can call it NPE, and that causes the issue. And the main part is you don't get this exception on compile time, so you won't even realize on the compile time that you have made a mistake or you have missed a check. This null pointer exception will occur on the runtime, and that can cause a lot of issue for you. Maybe your APIs will fail. Similarly, on front end, null pointer exception can crash the application, so it's a very bad user experience. So we need to handle all such cases. Now let me show you how we can resolve this problem using the optional feature. So here is the solution: use of optional feature. So the basic logic of optional is that it is a container which tells that it may or may not hold a value. So it indicates that the value can be null. So let's see the modification of same code. Here we are using that same method find user by ID. It has the same argument. We have just modified this part. You can see instead of user we have used optional as a container, and inside that we have passed the user. So this is the only difference. Here we had the user, here we had the optional as a container to user, which indicates that this method may return null. So in the body part we are doing the same thing, but now it returns optional user which may or may not be null. Now you might have a question in mind like, how is it resolving the problem? Earlier also it might have returned null or not null. Even now it may return null or not null. So how is it resolving the problem? The problem is resolved in the usage section. Let me show you how will we use it now. So here is the usage part. You can see now when we are calling this method find user by ID, where we are passing the ID as an argument, we are getting optional user. Now earlier what we were getting was a normal user object, but now what we are getting, user is a optional container having a user. Why? Because we modified our method. Now this was returning optional user, and hence when we get the value we will also get optional user. Now there are multiple ways to handle it, so let's see all of those. The first way is you simply check if something is present in it. How do you check that? You use isPresent method. So we are doing if optional user is present, which means like some value is present in it, that is it is not null, then you do the handling. So because now the optional user is not null, it won't give you null pointer exception. But how do you get the user from optional user? You simply use the get method. So here you can see we have done optional user dot get, so it will give you the user, and then you can simply do get name on the user. And we have already made sure that user is not null. How? Because we have used this method is present. So this is first way to handle it. Now the second way to handle is that you provide a default value, which means in case there is null, use this default value. So here you can see we have done optional user dot map and get the value from it, but after that we have also used or else, which means in case we did not get anything, we will use this default value of guest. Now if you're getting confused like what is this, this is basically the usage of streams and lambdas. In case you want to learn about streams and lambdas, you can refer to my this video where we talked about streams and lambda in terms of backend development. But to simply give you a summary, what we are doing here is we are providing a default value in case the value is null. So we are handling it. If you get the value, use that. Otherwise, use this default value of guest. Now this was the second way. Now always you have a third way where you can throw an exception. So in case something is mandatory, what you can do is like throw a custom exception for that. Just for example, here you can see what we have done is user is equal to optional user or else throw this new user not found exception where we have mentioned user not found. So in case the user is null, we can throw a custom exception. This you can do in case something is mandatory for your API or your backend work, but it is coming as null, so that you know about the custom exception and you can log it, add that to metrics or do whatever you want to do. So you can see by using the optional feature, we have prevented null pointer exception. So now no longer we are getting null pointer exception. We have already handled that using the optional feature in Java 8+. Now if you use any other programming language, most of the programming language already have a similar kind of functionality provided to it. The name might be different. Like for example, Kotlin, we use like null safety. Similarly in JavaScript, C#, all these languages provide this feature. So you might have already used it. But when we talk about Java, because we would use Java Spring Boot in this playlist to learn the backend development, so for that we can use optional feature. So whenever you are coding in backend development, if a method returns optional, you know that it may contain null, and then you will handle the case like any of these ways as per your requirement. And similarly, if you're creating a new method which may contain null, so you need to make sure that you use optional in it so that there is no null pointer exception and your API or backend code works properly. So this was our first Java 8+ feature, optional. Now let's move to the second feature, which is functional interfaces. Now what do we mean by functional interface? It means an interface which has exactly one abstract method. So in the java.util.function package, Java provides many built-in ones, functional interfaces like predicate is there, then function is there, then consumer, supplier. So if you have seen my video of lambdas and streams, we talked about a bit on the functional interfaces, and we used it there because lambda expression can be used only when there is a functional interface. That is, if the interface has only one abstract method. So here is an example of same. You know, in backend development, there are a lot of times when you need to filter the data. So here in this example, we'll talk about the same. You can see we have used the list collection here of type users, and in that we have inserted some data. Now here we are using the predicate functional interface. You can see predicate, it returns the boolean. So here what we are doing is to check if the user is adult or not. When we say adult, it means the person is minimum 18 years old. So you can see we have done predicate, and then in that we have passed the user, we have kept a flag is adult, and then we have used this lambda expression. Why we are able to use the lambda expression here? Because predicate is a functional interface, which means only one abstract method, and just because it has only one abstract method, we don't need to write the complete code where we write the anonymous inner class and tell the method name. What we can directly do is use the lambda expression. In the lambda expressions, what we generally have is firstly we define the parameters, okay, and after that we have this arrow, and then we have the curly brackets inside which the body comes. So this is the lambda expression. But in case the number of parameters are only one, we can skip these brackets. So here you can see, as we had only one parameter, we simply had that without the brackets, and after that we have this arrow, and after that we have the body. Now again, in the body, if there is only one line, we can skip these curly brackets. So similarly, you can see here we have this logic as the body, where we are simply checking if the age of the user is greater or equal to 18. If this is true, it means the user is adult. So using this predicate functional interface, we were able to use the lambda expression, and by doing that we are able to write much cleaner, more readable, performant code. Now after that, what we are doing is applying the streams operation on the users. Here you can see we have done the stream, and then we have used the operations in stream. First we have used the filter, which is intermediate operation, and then toList, which is terminal operation. So we are doing the filtering based on the is adult, which we calculated earlier. If you're finding this too much complicated, just go through the lambdas and the streams video once again, and for now you can simply remember functional interface means it has only one abstract method. Okay, so in backend, functional interfaces are often used in filtering, mapping, transforming API responses. These are also used for defining the validation rules and used in custom business logic in streams. Now after functional interfaces, let's talk about the third feature, which is method references. So method references are the shortcuts for lambdas when the method already exists. Let me show you a coding example through which you will get more understanding. So first we will see how we are writing in normal way using the lambda, and then we will see how we can modify it using the method references. Okay, so this is the code where we are using the normal lambda. You can see on the users we have applied the stream. So in case you want to know about the streams and the lambdas in terms of backend development, you can refer to this video. And then after that we have applied this map operation, which is intermediate operation. In that we have used our lambda expression. You can see user is the parameter, then we have the arrow, and then this is the body. So basically we are trying to get the username, and after that we have used the terminal operation for each. So for each of the name of the user, we are simply printing it. So again, here you can see this is a lambda expression. Name is the parameter, then we have the arrow, and then this is the body. Just to make things clear for you, this is the syntax of the lambda expressions. First you have the parameters, then there is arrow, and then there is body. Now let's see with the use of method references how we can modify this code. Again we will do the same thing, users.stream. This is exactly the same. Then we are using the map operation. It is same to what we did here, just the only difference is that we have modified the lambda expression to a shortcut using method reference. Here you can simply see we have mentioned user and then using two colons and simply mentioned get name. So this is the shortcut of writing this. So we have created a shortcut for lambda because we already had this method defined. Similarly, then we are using for each operation. Again we have used the method reference here. Instead of this complete lambda expression, we have created a shortcut here. So you can see we have simply written system.out and then two colons and println. Now you may ask like why we have written it differently. In first case we have just mentioned user and then the method name, whereas in the next part we have written system.out and then the method name. Why we have done that? Because these are two different things. First one is the reference to method and the second one is reference to the static method, because system.out is a static class whereas your user is not a static class. We have the object of user. So in order to understand that more, let's see what are the type of method references. So here are the types of method references. First is when we are using a static method. For example, system.out.println, this is the case of static method. So in that case, what we need to do is first write the class name. So in our case, system.out will be the class name, and then we have these two colons and then the static method name. So println was that static method. And when we talk about the instance method of a particular object, we can do something like this: that object, then two colons, and then we have the instance method. And when we talk about the instance method of an arbitrary object, then what we can do is write the class name, then two colons, and then the method name. And finally we can also use the method reference for the constructor reference. Here you can see we have mentioned the class name, double colon, and then use the new keyword. So this is how you can provide the method reference. The use of method reference is it acts as a shortcut to the Lambda expression, so your code might look more cleaner and readable. So whenever you see something like this in your backend code, you need to understand this is the Lambda expression only. This is equivalent to this Lambda expression user, and then you have this arrow, and then we are doing user dot get name. So both of these are equivalent. So this was a proper Lambda expression that we also saw here, and this is the modified shortcut using the method reference. Okay, so we talked about all three features: optional, functional interfaces, and method references. Now let me show you one code example where we will use all three of these together. So in this method get adult user's name, you can see we are using all three of these. How? First, we are using the optional feature here, which means that this method may return null. So you will handle it accordingly when you will call this method. So optional is a container in which it contains the list of string. And then as we saw earlier, this is the case of predicate functional interface, because of which we can use the Lambda expression. And then this is a case where we are using the method references. Clearly you can see we have used a shortcut here. Instead of complete Lambda expression, we have written like this. So we talked about all three features. First is the optional, which provides safer null handling. Second is the functional interface, which means this interface has only one abstract method, due to which we can use the Lambda expressions. And third is the method references, which acts as a shortcut to the Lambda expressions, or you can say we are able to write more cleaner lambdas using it. So these are the three Java 8 plus features which are heavily used in backend development. Again, we did not talk about all of the Java 8 plus features because in this playlist our priority is to understand the backend development. So we are focusing only on those things which are heavily used in backend development, which you will see in your day-to-day code. If you found this video helpful, press the like button, share it with your friends so that all of us can learn and grow together. Alright then, this is Mohit Chabda signing off. Subscribe to the channel and thanks for watching.